Desde la Universidad Militar Nueva Granada, en Bogotá, Colombia, transmite UMNG Radio. Una emisora alternativa, cultural e independiente. Desde la Universidad Militar Nueva Granada. Esta es UMNG Radio.
Tune in and speak up. Hello, English learners. Want to learn something interesting whilst having fun? Welcome to Tune In and Speak Up, the podcast where you'll get to know this beautiful language in depth. Each week, we'll dive into exciting topics, share practical tips, and tell you fascinating English language stories. So whether you're studying, going to work, or just relaxing, connect, listen, and let's make English part of your world. Wherever you are, whenever you want, just hit play, tune in and listen up. Tune in to UMNG Radio every Tuesday from 11 a.m. till noon. Don't just learn English, live it.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Tune In and Speak Up, the podcast from Universidad Militar Nueva Granada, where we explore fascinating ideas while improving our English. I'm Jorge Bermudez, teacher of English at the Department of Multicultural Studies at UMNG, part of the School of Education and Humanities. In today's episode, we'll explore what it means to have a digital identity, why we present ourselves differently in different online spaces, why social media encourages comparison, how much privacy we still have, and whether the internet allows us to become a new version of ourselves. Along the way, we'll discover that one of the biggest questions of the digital age isn't simply how we use technology. It's how technology influences the way we see ourselves and the way others see us. So that's our question for today. Who are you online? And how closely does that person resemble the one looking back at you in the mirror? Let's find out. Imagine that you're about to meet someone for the very first time. Perhaps it's a new classmate, a colleague, or someone you've been talking to online. Before you shake hands, before you hear their voice, and before you ask their name, you do something that has become almost automatic. You search for them. Within a few minutes, you have already seen their Instagram photos. You've looked at their LinkedIn profile to learn where they study or work. Maybe you have watched a few TikTok videos, noticed their profile picture on WhatsApp, found some old posts on X, or discovered the playlist they created on Spotify. If they're a gamer, perhaps you've even found their gaming profile and seen which game they play. Without realizing it, you have already formed an impression. You might think they enjoy traveling because of their photos. You may assume they're interested in fitness, photography, music, or technology because of what they post online. Perhaps you imagine they're outgoing because they share many pictures with friends, or quiet because they rarely post anything at all. And then you finally meet them. Sometimes they are exactly as you expected. Sometimes they are completely different. That raises an interesting question. Who did you meet first? The real person or their digital version? For most of human history, people built relationships face to face. You learned about someone gradually through conversations, shared experiences, and time spent together. Today, that process often happens in reverse. Long before we meet someone in person, we may already know dozens of details about their online life. In many cases, people know us online before they know us in real life. Our photographs, comments, likes, videos, playlists, and profiles often introduce us before we ever have the chance to introduce ourselves. Whether we realize it or not, each of us leaves behind a digital trail that tells a story about who we are, or at least who we appear to be. But here's the important question. Does an online profile really represent a person? Can a collection of photos, short videos, comments, and profile descriptions capture someone's personality, value, and character? Or are we all creating carefully edited versions of ourselves, choosing what to show and what to keep private? The internet has given us something previous generations never had: the ability to build a digital identity that exists alongside our real world identity. Sometimes those two identities are very similar. Sometimes they're quite different. And sometimes, without even noticing it, we spend as much time managing our online image as we do living our everyday lives. And that takes us to our first segment. We all have a digital identity. Whether we think about it or not, every one of us has a digital identity. It's not something we create all at once. Instead, it grows little by little through hundreds or even thousands of small actions we perform every day. Every photo we upload, every comment we leave, every video we watch, and every app we use adds another small piece to the picture of who we are online. This collection of information is often called a digital footprint. Just as our shoes leave footprints on a sandy beach, our activities leave traces across the internet. Some of these traces are obvious. We create social media profiles, upload photos, write comments, click the like button, and share posts with friends. Other traces are much less visible. Search engines remember what we search for. Online stores keep records of what we buy or what we leave in our shopping carts. Streaming services learn what music we enjoy, which movies we watch, and even which episodes we stop watching halfway through. Many smartphone apps can also collect location data, allowing services like maps or weather apps to work more effectively. Individually, none of these pieces of information says very much. Together, however, they can create a surprisingly detailed picture of our interests, habits, routines, and preferences. But here's something even more interesting. Most of us don't have just one digital identity. We have several. Think about the different platforms you use. On LinkedIn, you probably present your professional self. You highlight your education, skills, achievements, and career goals. On Instagram or TikTok, you may share your hobbies, vacations, favorite foods, or memorable moments with friends. In a family group on WhatsApp, you might communicate very differently than you would with classmates at university. In an online game, you may use a nickname, choose a completely different appearance for your character, and interact with people who know nothing about your real life. Even within the same day, you move naturally between these different versions of yourself. You speak one way with your professors, another way with close friends, another with your family, and perhaps another with people you've never met in person. This isn't necessarily dishonest. In fact, psychologists have long observed that people naturally adapt their behavior to different social situations. We don't tell the same jokes in a job interview that we tell during a family dinner. We don't speak to our grandparents exactly the way we speak to our closest friends. The internet simply makes these different roles much more visible. Instead of having one public identity, we manage several at the same time: a student, a professional, a friend, a family member, a gamer, a sports fan, or a member of an online community. Each platform encourages us to emphasize a different part of who we are. The interesting question is not whether these identities are real. Most of them are. The question is whether any of them tells the whole story. Probably not. Each profile captures only one part of a much larger person. Our digital identities are like pieces of a puzzle. Each piece may be accurate, but no single piece is enough to represent everything about us. And yet, these partial versions are often the first impression other people have. In the next section, we'll explore something even more intriguing. If we naturally present different sides of ourselves in different situations, where is the line between simply expressing ourselves and performing for an audience? And that's why we have this question for our segment 2. Are we showing ourselves or performing? Have you ever noticed that you don't behave exactly the same way in every situation? Think about it for a moment. As we were saying in the previous segment, the way you speak during a job interview is probably different from the way you speak at a family dinner. In the classroom, you may be more formal than you are with your closest friends. None of these versions is fake. You're still the same person, but you naturally emphasize different parts of your personality depending on the situation. Sociologists have studied this idea for many years. They suggest that social life is a bit like a stage. Without even thinking about it, we all adjust our behavior to fit the people around us. We choose our words carefully, follow social expectations, and try to make a good impression. It's simply part of living in society. Social media has changed this process in an important way. Instead of performing only during certain moments of the day, many of us now have the opportunity to present ourselves all the time. Every photo we upload, every caption we write, every video we post, and every comment we leave becomes part of an ongoing public presentation. Unlike a face-to-face conversation, these moments can remain online for months or even years, ready to be seen by classmates, employers, relatives, or complete strangers. This also means that we become our own editors. We usually don't post every ordinary moment of our lives. Some people do. We choose the best photographs, the funniest stories, the most beautiful places, and the happiest celebrations. We crop images, adjust the lighting, apply filters, and sometimes take dozens of photos before deciding which one to share. In other words, social media often becomes a highlight reel rather than a complete documentary of everyday life. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. People have always shared good news more enthusiastically than bad news. Family photo albums rarely include arguments, stressful work days, or boring afternoons. Social media simply makes this natural tendency much more visible and much more frequent. The question is whether we sometimes begin confusing the edited version of life with life itself. When we scroll through hundreds of carefully selected moments from other people's lives, it's easy to forget that we're seeing only a small part of the story. Behind every perfect vacation photo, successful graduation, or exciting achievement are also ordinary days, disappointments, mistakes, and moments of uncertainty that usually remain invisible. Perhaps the most interesting question, then, is not whether social media is real or fake. It's this: is social media documenting our lives, or is it curating them? The answer is probably both. We share real experiences, but we also choose which experiences deserve to be seen. Every post is a small decision about how we want others to perceive us. In the next section, we'll explore what happens when we spend so much time looking at these carefully curated lives and why comparing ourselves to them can sometimes affect the way we feel about our own lives. And then we're going to answer this why we compare ourselves. Have you ever opened a social media app for just a few minutes and closed it feeling as though everyone else was having a more exciting life than you? Perhaps someone is traveling to another country. A classmate has just received an academic award. A friend is celebrating a new job. Someone else has bought a new car or is posting photos from a perfect beach vacation. Meanwhile, you're sitting at home on a Tuesday afternoon, finishing homework or doing laundry. Why does this happen? Part of the answer comes from psychology. Human beings naturally engage in social comparison. We understand ourselves partially by comparing our abilities, achievements, and experiences with those of other people. In moderation, this can be healthy. Seeing someone succeed can inspire us to learn new skills, work harder, or set ambitious goals. The problem is that we don't compare ourselves equally with everyone. Psychologists have found that we often make upward comparisons. We compare ourselves with people who appear to be more successful, more attractive, wealthier, or happier than we are. These comparisons can motivate us, but they can also leave us feeling as though we're falling behind, even when we're doing perfectly well. Social media makes this tendency much stronger. Every time we open an app, we're exposed to hundreds of carefully selected moments from other people's lives. We see celebrations more often than disappointments, achievements more often than failures, and exciting experiences more often than ordinary routines. Then there are likes, followers, and comments. These numbers can easily become a form of validation. It's natural to enjoy positive feedback from others, but when numbers begin to determine how we feel about ourselves, our self worth can become tied to the reactions of people we may not even know. Another factor is something psychologists call FOMO, FOMO, or the fear of missing out. It's the uncomfortable feeling that other people are having rewarding experiences without us. Seeing photos of parties, concerts, vacations, or social events can create the impression that everyone else is constantly enjoying life while we're missing something important. But here's what we often forget: everyone edits their life. People usually share their best moments, not their most ordinary ones. They post graduation ceremonies, birthdays, weddings, vacations, and personal achievements. They rarely post pictures of waiting in traffic, cleaning the kitchen, studying for hours, or spending a quiet evening doing nothing in particular. As one writer humorously observed, nobody posts ordinary Tuesday afternoons. When we compare our everyday lives with someone else's highlight reel, the comparison is almost always unfair. The healthiest approach may be to remember that social media shows only a small window into a much larger life. Behind every perfect photograph is a real person with challenges, disappointments, and ordinary days that remain invisible. In the next section, we'll turn from what we choose to share to what we choose to keep hidden as we explore one of the biggest questions of the digital age. Is privacy disappearing? A generation ago, privacy was much easier to understand. If you wanted to keep something private, you simply didn't tell anyone. A photograph stayed in a family album. A conversation remained between the people who were present. A mistake made years ago was often forgotten with time. Today, things are different. Almost everything we do online leaves behind a digital footprint. Every photo we upload, every comment we write, every website we visit, and every app we use can create a record of our activities. Some of this information is shared intentionally. Other parts are collected automatically, often without us thinking much about it. One important characteristic of the internet is that many posts are surprisingly permanent. Even if we delete a photo or a message, someone may have already downloaded it, taken a screenshot, or stored it elsewhere. The internet has a long memory. This is one reason why many employers and universities now consider a person's online presence as part of the application process. Also for the visa. Public posts, comments, or photos may provide additional information about an applicant's interest, communication style, or behavior. While this doesn't happen in every situation, it reminds us that what we publish online can sometimes reach audiences we never expected. Technology has also made it easier to identify and follow people in ways that were almost impossible a few decades ago. Facial recognition systems can sometimes identify individuals in photographs or videos, while many smartphone apps use location tracking to provide services such as navigation, weather forecast, or restaurant recommendations. These features are often convenient, but they also generate valuable information about where we go and how we move through the world. Another part of the digital economy involves data brokers. Most people have never heard of them, yet they play an important role behind the scenes. These companies collect and combine information from a variety of sources and create detailed profiles that can be used for purposes such as advertising, market research, or risk analysis. In many countries, laws regulate how personal data can be collected and used, but the amount of information generated every day continues to grow. None of this means that technology is something to fear. Many digital services depend on personal data to work effectively. Navigation apps need to know your location. Streaming platforms remember what you've watched so they can recommend new content. Online stores keep track of your purchases to make shopping easier. The challenge is finding the right balance between convenience and privacy. Every time we install a new app, create an online account, or click I agree without reading the terms, we're making a small decision about what information we're willing to share. Perhaps the most important question isn't whether complete privacy is still possible. It may be something much more practical. What parts of our lives should remain private, and what parts are we comfortable sharing with the world? There is no single answer that fits everyone. But asking that question thoughtfully may be one of the most important digital skills we can develop. In the next section, we'll explore a more optimistic side of digital identity. Can the internet give us the opportunity to reinvent ourselves, discover new interests, and become a better version of who we are? Can you reinvent yourself online? So far, we've talked about some of the challenges of digital identity. But the internet has also created opportunities that previous generations could hardly imagine. One of the most remarkable is the ability to reinvent ourselves. Think about how easy it has become to explore new interests online. Someone who has never painted before can join an online art community and begin sharing their work. A person interested in photography, cooking, astronomy, or chess can find thousands of videos, discussion groups, and people who share the same passion. The internet allows us to experiment with new hobbies in ways that were once much more difficult. The same is true for learning languages. Millions of people now practice with native speakers, join international communities, or use digital tools to improve their communication skills. In many cases, the internet opens doors to friendships and cultural experiences that would never have happened otherwise. Online communities can also help people discover new career paths. Someone working in one profession may begin learning computer programming, graphic design, digital marketing, or entrepreneurship through online courses and communities. Over time, these new interests can lead to entirely different careers. Another interesting feature of the internet is that it sometimes allows people to participate anonymously. While anonymity can certainly be misused, it can also have positive effects. Some people feel more comfortable asking difficult questions, discussing personal challenges, or expressing ideas they might be too shy to share face to face. Others find supportive communities where they finally feel understood and accepted. This reminds us of an important point. Not all online identities are fake. Sometimes they are simply different. In fact, for some people, the internet provides a space where they can become more authentic. A quiet student who rarely speaks in class may confidently share thoughtful ideas in an online discussion. Someone living in a small town may connect with people around the world who share the same interests. A person exploring a new passion may discover a community that encourages them to keep learning and growing. The internet doesn't only allow us to present ourselves, it can also help us discover parts of ourselves that we hadn't fully recognized before. Of course, this doesn't mean every online interaction is positive or that every digital identity reflects reality. But it reminds us that technology is neither inherently good nor bad. Like many tools, its impact depends largely on how we choose to use it. Perhaps the most valuable digital identity is not the one that attracts the most attention. It's the one that helps us become a more curious, capable, and authentic version of ourselves. In our final section, we'll bring these ideas together and explore how we can build a healthy relationship with our online identities without losing sight of the person behind the scene. And that takes us to our next section, finding balance. After everything we've discussed, one question remains. How can we enjoy the benefits of digital life without allowing it to define who we are? There is no perfect answer, but there are a few simple habits that can help us build a healthier relationship with our online identities. The first is to think before posting. Keep that in mind, please. Think before posting. Before sharing a photo, a comment, or a video, it can be helpful to ask a few simple questions. Am I comfortable with other people seeing this in the future? Would I feel the same way about these posts next year? Could it be misunderstood if someone sees it without the full context? Taking a few extra seconds to reflect can prevent many problems later. Another useful habit is to separate what is public from what is private. Not every experience needs to be shared online. Some conversations are more meaningful when they remain between friends or family. Some achievements are satisfying even if no one else knows about them. Privacy isn't about hiding, it's about choosing intentionally what belongs in the public world and what belongs in your personal life. It's also important to take breaks from social media from time to time. Constantly checking notifications or updating profiles can make us feel as though we always need to be connected. Stepping away for a few hours, or even a few days, can remind us that life continues even when we are offline. Another healthy habit is to avoid comparing your everyday life with other people's highlights. As we discussed earlier, social media usually shows the best moments, not the complete story. Everyone experiences stress, disappointments, and ordinary days, even if those moments rarely appear in their posts. Perhaps the most important reminder is this: followers are not the same as friendships. Having thousands of followers doesn't necessarily mean having people who truly know you, support you, or care about you. Real relationships are built through trust, shared experiences, and genuine conversations, not simply through numbers on a screen. The same is true for likes. Likes are not the same as self worth. A photograph with hundreds of likes doesn't make someone more valuable. Just as a post with very few likes doesn't make someone less important. Our value as human beings cannot be measured by algorithms or statistics. Finally, remember that identity continues to grow offline. Some of the experiences that shape us most deeply happen away from screens. Again, conversations with friends, time spent with family, reading a good book, learning a new skill, helping another person, or simply reflecting on our own experiences. The internet is an important part of modern life, but it is only one part of life. The healthiest digital identity is one that reflects a rich and meaningful life beyond the screen. In our closing reflection, we'll consider one final question. If technology allows us to create so many different versions of ourselves, where does our true identity really exist? And here we go with our final reflection. As we come to the end of today's episode, let's return to the question we asked at the beginning. Who are you online? For many of us, the answer isn't simple. We have a professional profile for work or university. We have social media accounts where we share moments with friends. We may have another identity in an online game, another in a discussion forum, and another in a messaging app. Each one reflects a different part of who we are. Technology has given us the ability to create many versions of ourselves. The professional version, the funny version, the serious version, the creative version, the academic version. None of these identities is necessarily false, but none of them tells the whole story. A profile can show our favorite music, our best photographs, our achievements, and our opinions. It can tell people where we have traveled, what we have studied, and what we enjoy doing. What it cannot fully capture is something much more important. It cannot capture our kindness, our integrity, our resilience after failure, our sense of humor in difficult moments, the quiet conversations we have with people we love, or the countless small decisions that shape our character every single day. Those parts of who we are rarely appear on a screen. Throughout this season, we have explored how technology captures our attention, influences our thinking, shapes the choices we make, changes the way we work with artificial intelligence, and now affects the way we present ourselves to the world. Perhaps the lesson connecting all of these topics is surprisingly simple. Technology is an extraordinary tool, but it should never become the measure of our humanity. The most important identity you have is still the one that exists when the phone is off, the one your closest friends know, the one your family sees, the one that continues to grow when no one is watching. Because in the end, who we become depends far less on what we post and far more on how we live. So thank you for listening to Tune In and Speak Up. I hope today's conversation encourages you to think a little differently the next time you open a social media app. Your digital identity is part of your story, but it is never the whole story. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep speaking up. Thank you very much. See you next week. Later. Thank you very much.
Lo que ocurre en la universidad, los acontecimientos y sus protagonistas están en UMNG Radio.
Tune in and speak up. Hello, English learners. Want to learn something interesting whilst having fun? Welcome to Tune In and Speak Up, the podcast where you'll get to know this beautiful language in depth. Each week, we'll dive into exciting topics, share practical tips, and tell you fascinating English language stories. So whether you're studying, going to work, or just relaxing, connect, listen, and let's make English part of your world. Wherever you are, whenever you want, just hit play, tune in and listen up. Tune in to UMNG Radio every Tuesday from 11 a.m. till noon. Don't just learn English, live it.